I rise today to mark National Volunteer Week and Delaware Volunteer Week. All week long throughout the nation and across our great state of Delaware, Americans and Delawareans will be engaged in volunteer service. Volunteer opportunities include helping the homeless, tending to the environment, mentoring children in schools, and working to keep our communities safer and stronger and free from fires and accidents and injuries, among many others. Here in the Senate, one can't talk about community service or national service or volunteerism without thanking and recognizing our colleague, Senator Barbara Mikulski from my neighboring state. Senator Mikulski has been the Senate's leader on volunteerism for many, many years, most of them alongside the late Senator Ted Kennedy. And I'm proud to be working with her to fight to save our national service programs. When Delaware's tireless governor, Jack Markell, was sworn into office in 2009, he decided to forego the traditional governor's inaugural ball, and he, along with his wonderful wife, our First Lady, Carla Markell, instead organized a week of service projects across our state. Today, that week of service continues and has become a tremendous opportunity for nonprofit organizations, community service organizations across our state to connect with Delawareans excited about teaching our children the value of volunteerism, connecting with our neighbors, and helping improve and strengthen our community. I've long believed that those who engage in volunteerism and service to others, in fact, get more out of it than they put into it. And volunteerism, as you know, Madam President, is a fundamental part of what it means to be American. It is a great, some would say the greatest part of America and its cultural traditions. However, volunteerism need not be confined, of course, to my state or to this week. It is something from which every American can benefit at every stage in their lives. And in my view, one of the most effective volunteerism efforts in modern history is one with which I was first engaged when I was a resident briefly of your state, when I was working for the National I Have a Dream Foundation in New York City now many years ago. The National AmeriCorps program, a partnership between the federal government and local nonprofit communities, was launched with bipartisan support, initially an idea proposed by President Bush and then enacted by President Clinton. The AmeriCorps program is now one which has had tremendous and far-reaching impact over the last 17 years. It enables 75,000 Americans annually to serve via AmeriCorps with a very wide range of programs where the funding is raised and its focus is directed by state commissions of volunteers, community leaders who help identify the best and most appropriate, most effective partners for this federally funded program that is also matched one-to-one with dollars from the local community. So far, more than 60 million hours of community service annually has been provided by AmeriCorps members. Well, in Delaware, volunteerism has a long tradition and a great history, and the volunteer fire service is one of the strongest parts of that long and proud history of our state. There are more than 88 volunteer fire companies in our state. They provide the vast majority of fire suppression service for our communities. And they faced a real problem when I became county executive, a steady loss in membership. As working class families are under more and more pressure, more folks, both parents are working, they're under more stresses, more demands, it became more and more difficult for people to dedicate the time and the energy needed to be trained and to serve as volunteer firefighters, and in particular to deliver ambulance service, one of the most important aspects of our volunteer fire service. So in partnership with our Newcastle County Volunteer Firefighters Association and with the YMCA and with AmeriCorps, I worked tirelessly to launch a new AmeriCorps program called the Emergency Services Corps. The Emergency Services Corps helps recruit volunteer firefighters, conducts CPR and first aid training, and provides fire awareness training for school children all across our county. So far, they've recruited more than 220 new volunteer firefighters and logged more than 100,000 hours of service to our community in the 5 years since it was created as a partnership between all these different entities. I just thought, Madam President, I would draw attention to that one example today of the hundreds of AmeriCorps programs across our country that are a shining example, I think, of how the young people of this country, people at all ages across this country, bring their gifts, their talent, and their spirit to volunteering. In every generation of Americans, heeding the call to service has been the answer to our greatest challenges. And with so many out of work, suffering from hunger, or facing homelessness right here in our own country, I think it's critical that we all pitch in to help. It's an affirmation of our bonds of citizenship and our compassion for our fellow citizens. So I'd like to encourage everyone in my state to visit the Volunteer Delaware website to find service opportunities this week. I'm putting a link to it on my website at coons.senate.gov. And for those who happen to be outside of Delaware, I hope they will visit nationalservice.gov and participate in this National Volunteerism Week.